Watch this. I've been practicing at least 2 months. Darn. Why won't my brain let me juggle? Welcome to the 2011 Royal Institution Christmas Lectures. I'm Bruce Hood. I'm a scientist, not a juggler, as you've just seen. In tonight's lecture, we're going to look at how the brain works. Now, I wasn't born to juggle, and it's hard because it requires coordination, and if you lose concentration, everything just falls apart. But it is a skill that you can acquire. All of us have the potential to gain new skills like juggling, or improve on the ones that we have. And this is because we have brains that are flexible, brains that are adaptive, brains that can learn. In tonight's lecture, we're going to look at how the brain learns, because learning is what makes us intelligent. As human beings, much of who we are is how we learn. All the memories, all the actions, all the experiences shape us. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there to learn, and we have to make choices. So how does our brain make those decisions? Who's in charge here anyway? We're going to start by investigating a key aspect of this, our memory. Ladies and gentlemen, give a very warm welcome to someone who has one of the world's best memories. He's been world memory champion 8 times, Dominic O'Brien. Well, Dominic, we gave out a pack of 52 cards to the children before the lecture started, and we got them to write their name and their birthday on that card. And then we gave you the same cards for you to memorize.
Yeah.
So do you think you've been able to do that?
Well, in the time I had, there's a lot of information there. 3 lots of sequences and dates. So it's all jumbled up in my head, but I think I've got a hold of it.
Okay, well, let's put you to the test. So I'm going to blindfold you,
right,
just so you don't recognize the children. So would you mind taking the blindfold? You pop that on.
All right.
And when that's on, I'm going to get the children who have the playing cards that we gave out earlier to stand up. So the children that have the playing cards, stand up, please. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm just going to select one at random. How about you? Just hold up your card. Just say what the card is. The 9 of hearts. Dominic, the 9 of hearts.
The 9 of hearts. Is your name Iona? And is your birthday the 30th of September?
Is that correct? Okay, let's try another. Sir, hold up your card. 8 of clubs.
Oh, we're doing it that way around. Okay, 8 of clubs. Is your name Nick? Yeah. And your birthday, I think, is in December. Is that right? Is it the 6th of December? Yeah. Okay.
Good. Well done. Sir, with the white T-shirt, what's your card?
3 of clubs.
Okay.
3 of clubs. So let's start with your birthday. I think you were born in January, the 19th of January, and your name is Charlie.
Yeah.
Is that right? Round of applause. Okay. Congratulations.
Okay.
Dominic, that's amazing. We're going to have to find out how you do that. Would you mind coming back later on and explaining the
I'll
secret?
reveal some of the secrets later.
Round of applause for Dominic, please. Please take a seat, everyone. So, does Dominic have a special brain? Is he sort of from outer space? No, he has a normal brain. And you all have the potential to train your brain to be as good as Dominic's, to acquire new information. But how do you go about this? Well, it's all to do with learning. Learning takes place whenever we remember experiences from the past. Each time you encounter an experience, this creates a pattern of electrical activity in your brain. And the memories are these patterns of electrical activity in the connections between the brain cells called the neurons. Now, when you repeat experiences, you're repeating the patterns of firing until it becomes familiar. Your brain is simply recognizing similar events. This explains why you often don't notice things that you've encountered many times, because your brain has got it well encoded and got used to it. But it also explains why you suddenly notice something that you did not expect. So your brain was alerted to this new experience. The warning bells were set off, telling you to pay special attention to deal with what could be a potential problem. However, if I do it again, shall I? Shall I? Yeah? Ready? So this time, you expected it and were less bothered. Eventually, if I kept pressing it, you wouldn't respond at all. And this is because you've learned it. It's a form of learning called habituation. Your brain has become familiar with the event and you anticipate it. Now, even animals with very simple brains can learn through habituation. And we know this is learning due to changing the connections in the brain. But you don't have to be aware. Habituation is a type of learning that's unconscious. You don't have to think about it. The brain is simply processing and storing experiences without you even realizing it. But what's remarkable is that this kind of unconscious learning is at the very heart of one of our most sort of sophisticated and unique abilities as a species, our ability to learn language. Because if you think about it, we don't actually teach our babies to speak at first, and yet most babies learn their first words by their first birthdays. In fact, any baby has the potential to learn any language wherever it's raised in the world. Is the baby really trying to learn the language? Well, I don't really think so. I think their brains are programmed to rapidly encode the languages they hear. But this ability deteriorates as you get older. So I'm going to test this audience. Let's test how good you are at telling the difference between languages that you maybe have never heard before. First of all, listen to these sounds from the English language. This is me speaking. See if they tell the same or the difference. Ba, da. Are they the same? Hands up if you think they're the same. And hands up if you think they're different. Okay, let's try these next two.
Duck, duck.
Are they the same? Or are they different? Now, actually, do we have any Hindi speakers here? Are they the same or different?
They're different.
And your name is?
Prisa.
Prisa. Prita. What's the first word?
It's duck.
Can you say it? Because we can't hear it very well.
Duck. It's the, it's not the. And the second one's duck, and it's the, not the.
And what do they mean?
First one means till tomorrow.
Till tomorrow?
Yeah, and the second one doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything at all. It's not even a word. Can we hear it one more time?
Duck, duck.
So the first sound means till, as in till tomorrow, and the second word is just nonsense. But to us, we can't hear the difference. It's quite remarkable. Unless you heard Hindi as a baby, you wouldn't know it. So this ability to encode information in early experiences is called plasticity, brain plasticity, which comes from the Greek to be molded. So when you're born, you have almost all the neurons you'll ever have in your brain. There's about 100 billion of them. It's just that they're not connected up yet. So let me show you with a diagram a model of my brain. So this is a picture of me as a baby. Let's see if I can get it. Yes, yes, it's my christening dress, and as you can see, I'm very happy. But it is actually me. Now, here's a model of my brain. Now, each one of these little nodes here, these are the neurons I was telling you about, the brain cells. And between the neurons are the connections, which are the dendrites, which are the ways that the neurons talk to each other. So when you're born as a newborn, there's very few connections. Now, this is me at 6 months. Now, don't laugh. I knew that was coming. Okay, now here's the brain model of my brain. Again, we have these same neurons, but there's actually many more connections now. It's as if the neurons are wiring itself up. The brain's sending out the communications, telling the brain cells to talk to each other. But in fact, there's almost the same number of brain cells. As I said, you have almost all the brain cells you'll ever have as a baby. And here is me as a 3-year-old. There's something about me not wearing clothes, okay? I get it. It was hot. It was. And here is my brain. Now, look at the brain model here. Again, we have the same number of brain cells, but look, the connections are much thicker because the brain cells are communicating, and as they communicate with each other, these connections become thicker. And this connection, this thickening, reflects the experience as the brain is molding itself to the world around it. But whether it actually forms connections or not depends on experience. If you never experience events, then the connections never come. And this is because you lose them. Effectively, the brain, if it doesn't get the experience, prunes back those connections to make it more efficient. And this way, the brain is molding itself and becoming much more tuned into the environment. Now, many aspects of pruning happen early in childhood, which is one of the reasons why our brains are much better when you're younger for learning new skills than older brains. This partly explains the saying, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Now, when it comes to neural connections, the brain needs to keep them active, or they wither away. In other words, you have to use them, or you lose them. So, someone mentioned earlier the urban myth that you can only use 10% of your brain. It can't possibly be true, because if you weren't using those parts of your brain, then they would wither away. And without 90% of your brain, you'd be in a lot of trouble. Now, when early connections are formed, they can lead to long-term consequences. Now, what happens when I play this? Anybody else fancy an ice cream? Well, to me, when I hear that, I think about ice cream and my mouth starts to water and salivate. And that's because when I was a child, I used to buy ice creams from a van. They used to play those sorts of jingles. So just the sound of that stays with me. When I'm an adult now, my mouth starts to water because I'm anticipating the ice cream that I'm about to have. It's a classic Pavlovian response, named after the famous Russian scientist Ivan Pavlov. And Ivan Pavlov was working on the digestion system of dogs when he discovered that if you flashed a light or rang a bell at the same time you delivered the food, the dogs would associate the light to the food and begin to salivate, even though there was no food there. Pavlov proved that sights and sounds that don't normally signal food can be learned by repeated association to trigger our stomachs and mouths and make our mouths water. So the brain has learned by associating different neuronal patterns, one thing should lead to another. So this explains why you feel hungry when you're in the playground and you hear the dinner bell ringing. Salivating is an automatic behavior. However, many behaviors, especially those in higher animals, are not automatic, and they can be shaped through training. So let's meet one of Britain's best examples of training. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Morgan and Venetia.
Okay. Good boy. Wait.
So this is Morgan.
Yes.
Let's see what Morgan can really do.
Right. Through. Come. Round. Ready? Round. Come on, quick. Round. Ready? Good. Good boy. Weave. Come on, quick. Weave. 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 Quick. Weave it. Good. Wiggle. 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 Good. Wiggle. Good. Walk. Walk. Twist. Walk. Walk. Come through. Round. Middle. Middle. Twist. Go in. First. I'll go. First. Yeah. Hi.
Right. Very good.
Thank you.
So everyone would like to know, what kind of breed is Morgan?
He's a border collie.
And how old is he?
He's 3.5.
Right, and
Yeah.
you've trained him to dance, I take it?
Yes, from a puppy.
Now, how do you do that?
Well, I use a clicker.
Uh-huh.
And from 8 weeks old, we just teach him the basics of sit,
Yeah.
give a paw, and any other commands. Something very, very simple.
Right. So when he hears the click, then what do you do?
Well, while he's actually doing the process, twist. You've got to do it while they're in the middle of doing the process, rather than wait till the end. Twirly. Good boy.
So Morgan has learned to associate the sound with the reward, and
That's
he follows
right.
through. And you can use this to shape his behaviour.
Yes, yes. And once they've learnt from the clicker, then I use my voice, and I don't need to use the clicker after that. And he gets to know the commands.
That's fascinating. Can we give a big round of applause for Morgan? Thank you very much. Well, that's one dog that can learn new tricks. Morgan learned his amazing skills through training. I mean, after all, he would never have taught himself to dance by his own. He's learned this because Venetia has trained him with the clicker and association to shape his behavior. Now, humans can also be trained, but as a social animal, there's also other things that motivate our learning, such as rewards, seeking praise from other people. In fact, as humans, our behavior is often motivated by our own personal goals. So the skills and information that we learn are stored as memories in our brain. Now, initially, the first stage of storage is in the short-term memory. It's a sort of kind of temporary holding bay. But there's a limit to how much information you can hold and how long you can hold it for. So let's test someone's short-term memory. Who wants to be a volunteer in a memory test? I think we're going to go for gentleman in the orange. We'd like to come on down. Sorry, no, don't sign it. So what's your name, sir?
I'm Tom.
You're Tom. Okay, and how old are you, Tom?
I'm 11.
Okay, Tom, would you like to take a seat? Because we're going to test your memory, and we're going to show you a lot of items, and I want you to remember as many as possible, and I'm going to be assisted by Talia, who'll be keeping track of all the items that you remember, because after you've seen them all, we're going to ask you to recall as many as possible. You think you're up to that?
I'll try, yeah.
All right, try your best. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stand back. And let's start the game. A pound coin, a diamond lattice, a skull, a cuddly toy, a hose, a pair of die, a broom, a hat, a ball, a red hat, a yellow bucket, a garden blaster thing, a kettle, a camcorder, a truck, a mirror, juggling balls, an alarm clock, the world, a tire, a member of the audience. Okay, well done. Okay, now I'm going to test your memory. Okay, quiet everyone. This is going to be very hard. Are you ready? In 30 seconds, can you remember as many items as possible?
Okay.
Ready? Go.
A die, a skull, a broom, a coin. There was a member of the audience.
Yes.
There was a kind of atom thing at the very beginning.
An atom thing at the very beginning. Diamond lattice.
There was a
15 seconds.
There was a blower thing.
Blower thing, the odd thing.
There was a. It's really hard.
It's hard. Oh, well done. Didn't he do well? I've been dying to say that. Very much, Tom. Thank you. Let's have a look where you are. You return to your seat? Okay, so Talia, let's see how Tom did. Okay, let's turn it around. Now, this is very interesting. This is very typical for this kind of test. What Tom remembered was, of course, everything at the beginning. The giant pound, the diamond lattice, and the skull, because he'd just begun the test. And he also remembered the item at the end, partly because it was funny, but also it was the last item in the list. Notice how he's forgotten many of the things in the middle. And the one odd thing he remembered was a leaf blower, which is a very odd thing to see. Now, this reflects the fact that you tend to remember things right at the beginning and right at the end. And odd things, which are novel, stand out like a sore thumb. So other items like a cuddly toy, when we used to watch this program, was always the thing that people remembered. It's a strange thing to have. Now, this is a very interesting learning lesson because if you, for example, want to be remembered and you're taking part in an audition or you're trying to get a job, it's good to be at the beginning of the list or at the end because we tend to remember those people who start off the interview and at the end. And if you can't be at the beginning or the end, well, just be outstanding because that's one way.
Stop!
What the? Oh, I don't know. Another problem tonight. Did anyone see that? How many of you saw that? Hands up if you saw that. Okay. Clearly, we have some very dodgy characters around the Royal Institution Christmas lecture. I need to get on with the lecture. Where was I? Oh yeah, memory. Memory, of course, can be easily distracted. And it's not that good, quite poor. So if our short-term memory is so poor and easily disrupted, well, how did our memory expert at the beginning of the lecture succeed in remembering all those cards? I mean, that's really quite remarkable. Well, the secret to his success is learning through organization. Try this out. How many of you can remember this number? 1914191. Hands up if you think you've got that. Let's test you out. I'm going to try you.
1914191.
Okay, good. What about if I give you a second number? How about 819391945?
819315.
Anyone help him out? 391945. So the first one, what was the first number, by the way?
Completely forgotten.
Completely forgotten. You see, this explains how, or at least demonstrates, how short-term memory is very limited. And when you have to remember items which are very similar, you get confused and you easily forget them. Now, one way to improve that is to chunk them together. So if we have a look up here, these are the numbers I was reading to you: 1914119, 181 1945. Now, can anyone see some patterns? Let's just chunk them into smaller groups. And there we've got 1914, 1918, 1939, 1945. Does any historians in the audience? What are those numbers? What do they stand for? Shut it up. That's right. They just happen to be the start and the end of the world wars. Now, of course, not all numbers just happen to fall into place as being memorable. But you can organize information into more meaningful patterns to make them easier to remember. And if they don't readily fall into a more memorable pattern, then you can learn them to associate with them with a pattern that's easier. And this is a technique called mnemonics. Now, I've got one you probably know. Richard of York gained battles in vain. Does anyone know what that is? Sir? Color of the rainbow. Anyone got a mnemonic? Yes, with a hat. Never eat shredded wheat. What does never eat shredded wheat mean? Northeast, southwest. So, as you can see, if you organize difficult lists into more memorable phrases, they're much easier to record or recall, and that's because you can remember them much easier. This technique, even the word mnemonics, is a difficult one to spell, but I've got a sentence that makes that easier. For example, if I use my new experience memorizing odd names is clearly selected, then you have how to spell the word mnemonics. So let's get by our memory expert, Dominic, to find out what he's been doing to make such an incredible memory of his. Welcome back, Dominic Gibbons. So Dominic, you've been listening to some of the explanations about how memory can be improved and how we can organize memory. Let us into the secret of your amazing memory.
Exactly what you've just been explaining. I use mnemonics myself. Dominic's mnemonics.
Dominic's mnemonics.
I turn difficult information like playing cards, names, dates into colourful images. And I also use journeys, sequences, to remember the order of whatever it is I'm trying to remember. For example, I use a golf course to remember all these names.
Right.
I imagine them at each tee along the golf course. So let's say we've got the Jack of Clubs.
Yes.
And I've got to remember that Kate is connected with this, and her birthday is the 20th of October. So what I think about is an old girlfriend of mine called Kate, many years ago, and she's skiing on the first tee. Now, why is she skiing? Because I associate the Jack of Clubs with an old friend of mine who used to be a skiing instructor. Okay, so that's the first two bits of information. Okay. To remember the date, the 20th, I think of Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
Because the second letter of the alphabet is B, and 0 is O, B-O. That's not body odor.
Yeah.
That's Barack Obama.
Okay.
And to remember October, I imagine him wrestling with an octopus.
Right.
So you've got to put it all together. It requires a bit of imagination.
Right.
Put it all together, but I had to do that 52 times.
Well, and that takes a lot of practice and a lot of organization. Ladies and gentlemen, that's amazing. Another big round of applause for Dominic. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, when you organize your memory like this, you're making it work for you, which is why we sometimes call it a working memory. By working on memory, we can prepare information for storage into long-term memory. And this is really part of a system in this part of the brain that we call the hippocampus. So I'm just going to take this brain apart to show you, because it's inside the structure here. There we go. So this is one hemisphere. Now let me see if I can show you. This is the front part of the brain. And inside is all these internal structures. So let me just pop off the front of my brain here. And this is the structure we're really interested in. Let's get this bit out here. This is called the hippocampus. Now, it's shaped a little bit like a seahorse, which is why it's called the hippocampus, because that comes from the Greek word for seahorse. Now, it's the hippocampus, what we think is, well, we know, is really where your long-term memories are stored. Now, we're not really sure exactly how all these memories get encoded, but we know this structure must be used because, for example, if you damage it, you lose your long-term memories. And taxi drivers in London, for example, are very proud of their hippocampi, because there are two of them, because taxi drivers have enlarged hippocampi. And not only are they larger, but they're more active. And we think this must be due to the fact that when they have to memorize the whole of the streets of London, you know, the knowledge, then they're encoding this information. And what's remarkable is the hippocampus, or hippocampi, are one of the few structures in the brain where you can actually grow new brain cells. Now, when you damage this area, you lose your memories. The consequences of damaging your long-term memory can be quite devastating. I'm sure that many of you may have some relatives who are starting to lose their memory, and it can be a very devastating type of experience, because when you lose your memory, you effectively lose your identity, because who we are is really a sum of our memories. So, let's consider our own memories. You guys, what about your autobiographical memories? What's the earliest thing that you can remember? Hands up if you can remember being 6 years of age. Pretty good. 5. Keep them up. 4. 3. 2. 1. We got one person with a memory less than 1. Do you remember what that memory was by any chance?
It was my first birthday, and I had a party, and it was like my friends from when I was young.
It was your first birthday, and you remember the party. Is that right?
Yeah.
But notice how most of you put your hands down when I said 2 to 3 years of age. Now, why is it that very few of us can remember anything before our second or third birthday? It's not because babies don't have memories. We know they can learn. So it can't be simply the fact they haven't got memory. It might be related to the fact that the brain isn't very mature in a very young baby, but I think a more interesting possibility is that very young babies don't fully understand the world yet. So it's difficult for them to organize their memories or information into useful memories. Because organization is really important when it comes to storing these things. Hold on a second. Oh, I've just heard the police have apprehended a suspect in the robbery of the soft toy. You remember the robbery that we had just a moment ago? Hands up if you saw that robbery. Good. And you all got a good look at the witness, yeah? The suspect, yep, okay. Yeah, they're coming through now. Okay, so you think that you can identify the suspect? Hands up if you think you can. That's almost all you. Good, all right. So let's test you up, because the police need to do a lineup, and you're going to have to pick out who the suspect is, okay? So bring him in, Sergeant, would you?
All right, you lot, get in here now! Forward of the line, quick as you can now! Thank you! All present and correct, sir. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Sergeant. Okay, so these are the suspects who are in the lineup. I'll start off your way here, and one of them committed the crime. So let's see if you can identify the criminal. I'm going to ask you to step forward, each suspect, and then I want with a show of hands if you think it's the person or not. Will subject A step forward? Misbehaving. How many of you think it's misbehaving? Okay. Step back, please. Subject B, misdemeanor. That's a pretty good show of hands. Subject C, misplaced. Not so many. Subject D, misunderstood. Quite a few for misunderstood. And subject E, mistake. So the majority of you thought it was B. Now that's very interesting. Not everyone agreed, but let's see if you were right. Will the real culprit step forward, please? It was subject A. Big round of applause for those who got subject A. All right, Sergeant. I think you can take him away.
Very good, sir. All right, you're nicked. The rest of you, very sorry for the inconvenience. Be on your way now. Get out of here.
It was a setup!
So even though you got a good look at the thief and you thought you would recognize them easily, our memory can be very poor. Studies show that eyewitness testimonies are notoriously unreliable. And this is quite important because in some countries they use this kind of technique to put people into prison. So we really have to question this as a major legal issue. So memory is not like a photograph. It is something, it's not a picture in your mind that you can review. Memories are much more fluid. And that was a test of face recognition. But I want to test all of you now, and those of you at home, with a different type of test. I want to test your memory for words. So again, everyone's going to be involved in this one. I'm going to read out a list of words, and I want you to try and concentrate and see if you can remember the list I'm reading, okay? Simple enough? Let's start. Thorn, thimble, point, pin, eye, sharp, injection, cloth, haystack, sewing, syringe, knitting, hurt, thread. Now let's test your memory. Hands up if you think I said the word thread. Very good. Hands up if I said the word banana. How about the word needle? How about, are you sure about the word, hands up if you're sure I said the word needle. Well, you're in for a surprise. Here are the actual words I said. And nowhere on this list is the word needle. And yet you are convinced that I actually said the word needle. I implanted a false memory because the word needle was triggered by all these other words, which are related to the word needle. So in your brain, this association with the word needle was stimulated. So what I did was, as I said, I implanted a false memory. Every time you have to remember something, you have to reconstruct it. Build it back from the fragments of information stored in the neural networks of your brain. We've just shown that the brain can have false memories, which raises the original question we asked at the beginning of the lecture, because who's in control anyway? I mean, if your own memories can be wrong and you don't even realize it, and the memories are the key to your identity, well, who are you? Well, that's a pretty big question, and philosophers have been thinking about this for a long, long time. But we know that the answer must lie with the brain. We know this because people can be changed when their brains get damaged. Back in 1838, Phineas Gage was working on a railroad as an engineer, and he's blasting the rocks with gunpowder to clear the path for the rail track, when a colleague distracted him, and he accidentally got the rod onto a gunpowder, and it shot the rod straight through his skull and out the top, and landed 25 meters away. Now, remarkably, Phineas survived. Now, according to the records, he had lost the front of the part of his brain. Before the accident, he'd been a mild-mannered man, but after the accident, his personality changed. He swore more frequently, he became more irritable, and he became emotionally unstable. In short, Phineas Gage was no longer Phineas Gage. The region that had been damaged was the frontal lobes, and his accident provided a clue to what the frontal lobes do and how important they are to our personality and identity. Now, the frontal lobes are also responsible for flexible thinking and creativity and regulating behaviors that coordinate our activities. The frontal lobes are, in effect, delegating, prioritizing jobs, like a chief in your head office. But of course, there's no one really in there. It just feels as someone is in there making decisions. And that's because our brain generates a sense of ourself, the person in control, the you in your head. Now, you don't have to have a metal rod shot through your head to see the effects of frontal lobe damage. Frontal lobes can be impaired by disease and drugs, and one of the most commonly used drugs is alcohol. Who wants to try out the effects of alcohol? That's the quickest response I've had for a long time. I'm going to choose, sir, would you come down? And anybody, let's get someone from this side. Any more volunteers? Young lady, come on down. So come on here. Right here. And that lady, come this side. Okay, let's find out who you are. So who?
I'm Flory.
Flory, okay. And how old are you, Flory?
11.
11. And you want to drink alcohol? Okay, and you are?
Oliver.
Oliver, and how old are you, Oliver?
13.
Right. We have a bit of a problem, don't we? Because we can't give you alcohol in this country, can we? You were hoping for some alcohol, yes? Yes? Right, well, okay, we're going to have to improvise. And what I'll do, let me take you to Paris to a cafe. Okay, so join me in this cafe. You come this side. Flory here, Oliver here. Now, I'll be your wine waiter. And, sir, I am going to pour you some wine. And I want you to celebrate. Cheers, if I just pour the wine here. Would sir like to try the wine? Make sure it's tasty. It's not wine, of course, it's apple juice, but let's go for it. Is it good? Is it good enough? Right. It's obviously good enough to drink. Would you like to drink some as well? Okay. So that's very easy, isn't it? Now, let's imagine this is wine and you've had a few more bottles. Okay? Let's see what the effects of alcohol could do to your coordination. Would you like to pop on these goggles? Sir, if I may. Are they a little bit too... Are they tight enough for you? Okay. All right. Now, would you like to, again, have a glass of your wine? Oh, okay. No, that's the bottle. Okay. Oh, all right. Have a little drink again. Okay. Maybe you'd like to say cheers and clink your glasses together. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Okay. No, I think you both had a little bit too much to drink. Well done. Round of applause, everyone. Round of applause. Thank you. Okay, come over here. Let's see if we can give the viewers at home in the audience what an impression of wearing these goggles is really like. So I can see it there. You see, it's distorting everything, isn't it? And as you try to reach, you lose all your coordination. So the goggles is really producing a distortion of your vision. Thank you very much, David. It doesn't really make you drunk. It just creates what it's like to be drunk as far as your vision's concerned. But alcohol doesn't just affect vision. It affects your movement. It affects your decision-making. All of your coordination is disrupted by that. And that's why drinking, of course, is very dangerous if you're controlling a large machine like a car, because your coordination and also your judgment is impaired. Now, we also know that frontal lobes are the last part of your brain to mature. And this explains why often very young children can be very uncoordinated and very impulsive in many ways. As teenagers, you're currently also experiencing some of the most dramatic rewiring of your frontal lobes. So your control systems aren't yet fully up to speed, but don't worry, you guys are coming up to your prime. When you get to my age, it's all downhill from there. I'm afraid so, that is true. So the frontal lobes are not just responsible for judgment and control, but they also allow you to see into the future, or at least imagine what a future might be like. So let's see if any of you can tell the future, because I have a tale of terror to tell, and I need to have a fortune teller. And I want to take you to Zombie Island. Okay, so prepare to be amazed. So we had to select some volunteers earlier on, and here we have. Hello, guys. How are you doing? So who's going to be my research assistant? Your name is?
Liam.
Well, Liam, you're going to be Igor for tonight, okay? Yeah. And we have a zombie. And who are you?
Louise.
This is Louise, the zombie. And you're a typical child, aren't you?
Yeah.
And what are you, typical child?
Jess.
It's Jessica, who's going to be our typical child, and you're a bar of chocolate. And who are you?
Alice.
Alice is our bar of chocolate. Now, Igor, you're my trusty research assistant, aren't you? Now, I need you to transport all the bars of chocolate and the children and the zombies to my laboratory, which is over on the zombie island over there. So let's take all the items from my laboratory and let's stand over there. Okay, you stand there. Okay. Now, what we have to do here, this is a real task. It's a real problem where Igor has to use his frontal lobes to figure out and solve the problem. Because the problem is, Igor, you can only carry one person at a time, or one zombie, or one bar of chocolate over into my island. So you must transport it on the raft and get it over to there. But the problem is, of course, that you can't leave children with chocolate because children always eat the chocolate. And you can't leave the zombie alone with the child because what do zombies eat? Brains. Okay, so remember, don't muck up. Don't leave them together if they're going to eat each other. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see how Igor gets on because he's going to figure this problem out. Who are you going to bring over first of all on the raft?
The child.
Let's see you do it then. Pop him on the child and we'll give you some help here. So, are you thinking the solution? Are you working out in your heads? See if Igor's going to get it right. Here we go. Okay, so that's the right solution because you've left the zombie with the chocolate. Now, Igor, what are you going to go and get for me next?
Chocolate.
Chocolate, okay. Now, you see how he's working it out? He's thinking about how to solve the problem? Very good. Now, Igor, you've left something on the mainland. I need the rest. Can you go and get me my zombies?
Can I bring back the child?
Okay, that seems a good idea. Okay, on you pop. Safely down. Very good. Is he getting it right? Yeah, very good. Come on, Igor. What are you going to bring next?
Zombie.
The zombie. There we go. Well done, Igor. Of course, all you need left is... There we go. The child. I think it's a solution there. Big round of applause. Well done. Let's come back to zombie. There we go. Okay, we can let you go. Thank you very much. So what they were doing there is they were using their frontal lobes because they had to anticipate the consequences of the actions. Now, if a person with frontal lobe damage was trying to solve Zombie Island, they would muck up and they would probably leave the wrong combination because they can't anticipate what's going to happen next. It requires planning. Now, of course, planning becomes more difficult when you're doing more than one thing at the same time, and especially if you're under time pressure. You need to be able to focus your attention on the task at hand because complicated tasks require coordination. Now, this coordination enables us to do more than one thing at the same time, such as texting your friends or watching television, so long as the different tasks do not compete for the same neural parts of your brain. Then everything should be okay. But what happens if they do? Can I get 4 volunteers for the next one? Okay, let's get some people from the back here. Lady with the stripy top on the end there. Okay, down you come. Chap there on the end there. Down you come. Let's choose someone from over here. Sir with the red top. Down you come. And let's get someone. Lady, there you go with the heart on your sleeve. There we go. Come on down. Well done. So, who are you? Okay, come here. Right, stand in front of each chair. Sorry, you stand there. Let's find out who our guests are, first of all.
Nick.
Nick.
Emma.
Emma.
Sam.
Sam.
Isabel.
Okay, why don't you all have a seat, please? Make yourself comfortable. Now, this is a very simple test of control of your frontal lobes. I want you to just, with your left leg, just lift it up and rotate it clockwise, okay? Now, you can try this at home, everyone. Just rotate your legs clockwise. In big circles. Come on, let's see the big circles. Clockwise? There we go. You got it all now? Very good. Very easy. Okay, now stop. Now, with your left hand, I want you to draw the number 6. Okay? That's quite easy, isn't it? Now, look what happens when we put 2 of these things together. Let's start off with your left leg, clockwise. Everyone can have a go. Now, draw the letter 6. Well, it looks like it's all falling to pieces, isn't it? It's very, very hard. Yeah? How are you finding it? Okay. Very good. Round of applause for our guests. Thank you very much. Volunteers. Okay, we're really going to make this work. This is because this is called interference. And it's because different parts of the body, when you're moving them, you're trying to coordinate them. And they're both trying to work with the same areas. So moving your leg in one direction interferes with your moving your hands in the opposite direction. And you need your frontal lobes to be able to coordinate. It's hard to coordinate those movements. But hark, I think I hear a man who can. Hello, sir.
Hello
there. Big round of applause. Let me introduce you to Jake Rodriguez, a one-man band. Now, Jake, how long have you been playing this one-man band?
I did my first one-man band when I was about 18.
About 18?
Yes.
And how many instruments do you have now?
We've got 2 jingle bells.
2 jingle bells?
That foot's attached to the bass pedal. This one's attached to the cymbals on the top and the tambourine. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Banjo, harmonica, a couple of these. What's about 8, 9, 10, round about that, horns and things.
8, 9 or 10 instruments.
Yes.
Okay. And now, obviously, when you must have learned them, you didn't start off with all of them at first, did you? Or do you pick them up one at a time? And
yes, especially the horn took a lot of work, that one, to get that together.
And
And
do you find that when you think about what you're doing, does it get a little bit complicated? Do you just go for the rhythm, or how do you do it?
Well, it's quite instinctive to do a walking rhythm.
Right.
What's harder is to add a few more bits to it.
Right.
So, and if you get yourself in a bit of a pickle,
yeah,
you've got to be playing at the same time and unpickling your head at the same time.
Right, I've got it.
But that's not the hardest thing.
So the things which are automatic, you don't have to think about, and that's like walking, so that's easy.
Yes.
And the things which need a lot of thought, that requires more of your frontal lobes working away. Is that right?
Yes.
Let's give a big round of applause to Jake Rodriguez. He wouldn't make a very good robber, would he? Anyway, the way Jake coordinated all these is through practice. He was using his frontal lobes. Now, the things which didn't need a lot of thought, like the walking, he didn't have to really monitor, he didn't have to consciously control. And all the other things, he had to really pay attention in order to make these work together. So, in fact, when he gets really good at this, he doesn't have to think about it. Some activities are not under conscious control, such as breathing and walking. Other activities are like doing your homework and sitting in front of the television. That requires the executives in your frontal lobes when you have to concentrate. But in some cases, your brain has to block out information too. I mean, when you stop yourself doing something, you have to make a real effort, especially if the behavior is automatic. In other words, not doing something often requires you doing something. And that's what your frontal lobes are doing. So let's see if all of you can stop doing a very automatic behavior using your frontal lobes and mental effort. For this test, I want you to turn to the person next to you, and I want you to try and stare at them, okay, without blinking. And I want you to take turns of trying to make them blink by simply poking their eyes. So we'll try this, okay? You try and stare, okay? And try and not stare. There we go. Good. Okay? See if you can make them stare. Okay. What you'll notice is that actually it's really quite hard to do. Now, some of you are very good at doing this. And one of the reasons are typically if you're used to putting mascara on or anything near your eyes, then you don't have a problem. Or if you have contact lenses, you very often stick these near your eye. But if you don't do this very often, then it's a very difficult thing to avoid, because that blink is a reflex. That's the brain trying to protect your eyes from anything damaging them. And that requires conscious effort to try and stop it. It's not just reflexes if you think about it. I mean, the world is full of distractions. It's like being a kid in a candy store. There are just too many things trying to grab your attention. Now, sometimes we need to the ability to stop doing one thing in order to do something else. So the frontal lobe has to work out which bits of information to block out. So let me try another test for you. This is something that's going to be a surprisingly difficult task. And again, you can try this at home. In this task, I want you just to read the color of the ink, okay? I don't want you to read the word, and I want you to do it as fast as you possibly can. So let's see if you're ready yet. Go.
Red, green, blue, green, red, blue.
Well, that was black. Very good. Very good. Okay, that wasn't bad, actually. So let's try that again. I'll try to go a bit faster.
Red, blue, red, green, green, blue, black.
Royal Institution crowd. Very smart. Okay. So you're really good at this, aren't you? Okay, ready? Well, I found it very hard, but you did very well, I must confess. Give yourselves a round of applause. That's called a Stroop test, and what the Stroop test reveals that reading is such an automatic behavior. When you're very good at it, you really don't think about it that much. So when you see the word written in one color, your tendency is just to read the word, not say the color of the ink, which is something you don't normally do. And if you have damage to your frontal lobe, it's very difficult to do the Stroop test because it reveals that this part is controlling behaviors. So our frontal lobes are important for vigilance and attention. Throughout evolution, we've had to look out for danger. Now, in the olden days, it was things like saber-toothed tigers. Today, it's jaguars traveling at 40 miles per hour up Mayfair. So avoiding danger requires attention. When not paying attention, you can easily miss things which are right in front of your very eyes. So I'm going to show you a scene outside San Francisco. And I want you to watch this scene because does anyone notice anything different? What's happening here? Let's see. Does it look like the same scene to you each time it's flicking on? Everyone think it's... Put your hands up if you think it's the same scene. Yeah. Oh, yes, no, yes. It's the same thing, isn't it? Or is it? Are you sure? Well, let me show you what happens when I remove the blink. There we go. That's what's actually happening. You can see now that when I take the blink away, every frame has a different change. Things which you would never believe that you would ever miss. For example, there goes the tree. And then when I put the blank in, you can no longer see the changes. Look. Isn't that remarkable? And then I'll put it back in again. There they go. So this is really a very strong proof that if you're not paying attention, you don't miss things which are happening right in front of your very eyes. This is called change blindness. Every time your visual world disappears in the blink of an eye, your brain doesn't notice anything different unless you're paying special attention. So your brain is regulating our behavior, deciding what we should pay attention to, how we learn, and what we remember, all without us even realizing. Now, we started this lecture with the question, who's in charge? And actually, I'm still not really sure. Is it my memory? My frontal lobes? Well, they all play an important part. But there is no individual me taking control. So let's put everything together that we've learned tonight into one final demonstration. I began with juggling, not very good, but I'd like to introduce you to some really great jugglers, all the way from Croydon. Ladies and gentlemen, Croydon Juggling Club. Okay, so I'm going to get the audience to try out their frontal lobes here because I'm going to test them on a task of concentration because the juggle requires a lot of concentration, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, can you show us a single juggle where you toss the orange buttons? And I want you to count the number of times that they toss it, okay? So let's see, give us an example of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 6. Okay, can we stop there for a moment? So that's going to be the task for tonight. I want you to count the number of times the baton passes. Now, I want to find the person who has the best memory, okay? The best observation skills, the best vigilance. So keep the answer to yourself, because at the same time, I'm going to get the back jugglers to juggle to confuse you. And so as the orange button crosses, I want you to count the number of times, okay? And then remember it. So pay special attention. Okay, on your mark. You can start. And don't shout it out, just keep the answer to yourself. Okay. Round of applause. Okay, who thought that the answer was 24? Well, you're right. So 24, stand up. Okay. So, young lady, did you notice that? Did you notice anything strange when when you were counting there? Did you notice anything strange? For example, about me? Take my jacket off. Anything else about the stage? Skull? Yeah. Did you notice that the skull had changed? The top hat had gone? No. Did everyone get the top hat going? And of course, did you notice this? Have a look at the video. Did you see the gorilla? Have a look. You didn't see the gorilla? All right, big round of applause. Now, I know some of you know this demonstration, but hands up if you honestly didn't see the gorilla. I think that's a pretty dramatic demonstration that you don't always notice everything in the world. Thank you very much, Croydon Juggling Club. When you focus your attention, it's difficult to miss everything. So we began by asking who's in charge anyway, and we ended up questioning whether there's a single you inside your head in the first place. In the final lecture, we'll be exploring whether we are individuals, or rather, we're individuals born with a social brain to learn from each other and coexist in groups. So, thank you for watching so attentively. And it's good night for me, or rather, it's good night for my frontal lobes, good night for my hippocampus. In fact, it's good night for my brain. Thank you.